sweet child of Kos returned to the ocean. A bottomless curse, a bottomless sea, accepting of all that there is and can be.
Hey gang, Mad Matt back again. Sorry it's been a minute, been a little busy with this and that. Also been somewhat demotivated to play in tier format, which surely they'll do something about soon. However, over the past week or so, I've been playing some games with Ghoti and Gold League, and I was having a decent chunk of success and eventually ended up getting to plat with the deck, so I decided to make this somewhat low effort video for you all. I know getting out of gold isn't really all that special, but I like the title of the video, and I had some interesting duels on the way, so I just wanted to go over them and show off Ghoti. This video won't be my usual fare of, card by card with combo guides and then some showcase duels, etc., etc. I'm going to switch the format up a bit and just go over the deck I use, my thoughts, go over some of the cards and why I chose them, how they performed, give some changes I would probably do, then just comment on the duels I had. And maybe I'll do this each season with some stupid deck just to see what I can low level climb with. Honestly, I can't really make a combo guide for this deck when there's like two combos and both are like summon a monster, activate their effect, synchro for a fish, activate their effect. There are more plays than that, but really it just takes learning all their effects and learning lines, which maybe I can do later on in a video if people are interested. If you're not familiar with this deck, it's an archetype of what appears to be spacefaring water fish type monsters that have a unique gimmick where their tuners, when banished, can special summon themselves, and on the opponent's turn, you can use them to quick synchro into water fish synchro monsters. The rest of the cards kind of facilitate that game plan, along with having various effects when they're banished. And it all ends up just coming together for a deck that's just extremely unique and really shows some creativity design wise. The art is fantastic, the flavor is fantastic, the interruptions and the boards that you get to put up are incredibly unique. And I am happy to report that I do love this deck, and I can see why so many people do as well. I would probably best classify this deck as a trap deck that doesn't run traps. What I mean is, you're just looking to set up a bunch of interruption on your opponent's turn to make life difficult for them. And you do this by either banishing cards with someone like Azcan, or board wiping monsters with someone like White Aura Whale, or the banishing total board wipe with their level 10 Synchro Boss monster, Ghoti of the Deep Beyond, who on Synchro Summon on the opponent's turn can banish all cards on the field, and then during the next standby phase will come back to the board and have an attack stat equal to the number of monsters banished times 500. Probably one of the coolest spot monsters I've ever seen for an archetype, and he's not too difficult for us to summon, which is also very welcomed. Now, is this deck good? The deck is fine, nowhere near the top of the tier, but you have some crazy tools available to you. And you can definitely sneak some wins on some of the better decks out there. For example, you have a wide array of powerful synchro monsters you have access to, not only the in-archetype ones like Ascan and Ghoti of the Great Beyond, but staples like Barone or the new Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon to get access to your level 10 synchro pool. The deck also has a nice loop of tuners that you can summon turn after turn as long as you can keep banishing them, and this deck does a great job at accomplishing that. You also have great removal via banishing with, some decks really struggle with that, and they can't really handle that. And you have some consistent ways to set up your boards with cards like, Lifeless Leaffish, Supe Duskwalker, and then also their level 6 Synchro Aeron Poss. Even some of the better decks out there can struggle against you under the right circumstances. So, what are those circumstances? Well, that's a good question, and the answer to that generally is one where you get to set up and the opponent doesn't have the proper interruption to deal with you. So yeah, basically what makes any deck good. But really, it's one where your game plan gets interrupted as little as possible, and from that position, you're able to control the board, control the game, get up in cards on your opponent, and then find the pieces to set up an unbreakable board or just outright end the game with high attack synchro monsters. I think it helps to think of this deck like a trap deck, and because of that, if you're playing like a trap deck, you need to understand and know how other decks play because you need to know their choke points. Knowing when to activate Ascan to banish one of their monsters or deep beyond an opponent's board can basically be the difference between a win and a loss for this deck. So anyway, the deck itself, I played around with the build for a while before I ended up settling on this one, which is the one I ended up climbing with. I think the build could definitely be improved upon. It'll just take some more playtesting, but I'll give you some thoughts real quick. For cards, I really like Lifeless Leaffish, definitely one of the best cards in the deck, along with Supe Duskwalker. Definitely the two best starters and maybe even best cards in the deck. Both let you set up the level 6 Synchro, which basically lets you set up everything you want to do with the deck. Another card I ended up really liking was Abyss Shark. I ended up really liking him at 3. For 1, when he summons, he replaces himself in hand because he gets a search. And who doesn't love a +1? Second, he's searchable by Aronpos's second effect. When he's synchroed, he can banish a fish from the grave to add another fish from deck to hand with stars less than the banished monster, and he's 6, so you can search out Abyss Shark, so that's nice that he's pretty searchable. And the last part of Abyss Shark that I really like is just utility. He allows you to find someone like Leafish to get plays going, or an extender like Silent Angler as a way to either like synchro with a 2-star for 6, or to exceed with Abyss Shark to go into Sea Stealth Kraken. My only real complaint with Abyss Shark in the deck is there's some anti-synergy with Supe Duskwalker, because when you activate Supe Duskwalker's effect, you can only synchro summon for the remainder of the turn, so that means you can't use Abyss Shark to exceed with. And with Abyss Shark being level 5, he doesn't line up the cleanest for the synchros that you're trying to go into. But really, a board where you get to go Supe is a strong enough board on its own, and then you can just, if you do happen to have Shark in your hand, you can just hold on to him for next turn, just as follow up. So at the end of the day, I ended up really liking Shark at 3. The field spell and then terraforming, I ended up really liking both. So many unique plays you can do with the field spell. It opens up a bunch of turn 1 opening plays and also follow-up plays in later turns where you can, like, for example, banish someone like Ascan from grave to trigger his banishment effect. Just a really good field spell for the archetype. I really recommend running it. For the tuner lineup, I went with 3-3-2. I just seemed really good. Both of the first two can be solid starters, but they're the main tuners you want to be looping each turn. So I went with a max amount of both, and it ended up being great. So make sure I saw each of them each game as much as I needed to. For the one I wasn't running at 3 Zep, I think I'd probably up this guy to 3. I think he's deceptively strong with his ability to banish a card from grave, which can enable certain plays to happen. But also something I realized later on was how good he is in your hand on your opponent's turn when you have the level 6 main deck monster Snopios. For a card I ended up loving way more than I thought I would be Snopios. He is, at least for me, surprisingly strong. The utility of being able to force monster to be banished when it leaves the field actually came up for me in a couple duels, which was cool. And also, if he's in hand with Zep, you can use this effect to go into Ascan from hand by banishing that Zep, and then Zep will summon himself with Snopios on board, and you can synchro for 8, and then you just have a targeted banish on board, along with a powerful level 8 monster, and it's just from your hand. So I think in later builds, I would want to run Snopios at 3, at least 2, even though he could be a bit bricky. I just think he's that strong that he's worth doing it. That being said, in regards to the other level 6 monster, Eonok, I'd probably drop Eonok completely. In my testing, I found him to be one of my best cards to go to during my opening turn, but also when I was like pushing for lethal. It was also some nice utility being able to search for the trap card. But then when I got to actual games and I'm facing an opponent that actually throws that interruption, he was much more lackluster, and the trap card had basically 0 impact. He basically had 0 impact. I think in future builds, I would drop both himself and the trap, or at least replace him with Snopios, who I just think is all around better. For another card, I ended up liking less than I thought I would. Beautiful Princess. Princess is just an Ash or an Imperm or whatever else magnet. Your opponent will pretty much always throw it on this card. And the reason I was running at 3 is I always really prefer consistency when I'm deck building. So to avoid like brick hands, I ended up going not only with the 3 lifeless Leafish, but also Princess, so I could search out Leafish to summon and trigger the effect. And I think Tunaful along with Leafish, it's just too many normal summons, and I know they both work when special summoned as well, but really that only comes up with Paces to special summon one of them, and you would have had to normal summon that Paces anyway, so it's basically like you used up your normal summon anyway. I think it's still worth running Tuna at maybe 1 or 2 copies. 3 was just a bit much. She just ended up breaking up my hands. An Imperm or other hand trap would probably have been more impactful for the deck. She wasn't the worst thing in the world, though, because even if she is sitting in your hand, you can banish her with, like, the field spell to search out a Ghoti, or you can discard her with, like, Supe. So she wasn't necessarily cost me games, but it just definitely could have been a better card in my hand. I liked Angler too. This card was great. Just a solid way to go into Kragan. He's also searchable by Abyss Shark, and he's just a standard extender, and then he's nice for going to Aronpos when you have a level 2 tuner on board. I liked him at 2 just because of the fact that he's searchable, and I didn't hate seeing him in my hands as an extender. I'd probably keep him at 2 for pretty much any build, and I'd probably recommend running him. For the Ghoti level 4 monster, Ixeep, It occasionally comes up in practice hands where I needed a level 4 monster, and he's searchable by the Ghoti field spell as well as a Bishark. So I think he's nice as a 1-up for the deck. His other effects, his extending effect isn't too bad, especially when you're like trying to push for lethal. His other effect basically never came up, it's probably never going to come up. But I just think because of his stat line and the fact that he is a named Ghoti, I think he's at least worth running as a 1-of, and I definitely keep him as a 1-of. Max C at 3 is fantastic. You gotta love free Max C wins. I actually don't love them. Please ban this stupid ass card, Konami. As a side note, I will say this deck can play around Max C pretty well, and what I mean by that is every opponent I faced in Gold League would throw out Max C on my turn instead of waiting for their turn, where I'd special summon like 3 to 5 times on their turn, just using like the synchro plays instead of like the 0 to 1 times I do on my own turn, just trying to set up my board for the opponent's turn. I'll go ahead and say, yeah, the deck can play around Max C. I ended up not using Evenly Match a single time. I figured this deck wouldn't be the best going second, so I wanted a board breaker, and Evenly seemed nice. But I was winning coin flips, so maybe I'm just lucky. I'm not sure yet whether I should drop Evenly or not. It has like obvious anti-synergy with the field spell. But ideally, you only need to evenly when you lose the die roll and are going second, just as a way to crack your opponent's board. All in all, the non-engine portion of this deck could probably use some work. Imperm should probably find a home here somewhere. I do like Shifter in the deck. He isn't a card you can just willy-nilly shotgun because some of your cards like actually like being in the grave. But if you do like your chains right, Shifter can be very strong. So I did end up liking Shifter. I'd probably keep Shifter. And then, of course, 2 called by. It pretty much comes up against any deck or just stopping hand trap. So 2 called bys, I think, is mandatory as well. For the extra deck, I liked basically all of it. The only thing, Guo Glim literally never came up. I don't know why I insisted on running this card. He's kind of turbo ass. I'd probably replace him for like the level 7 Waterfish Synchro, just so a Bishark is someone he can Synchro into, which could have come up a couple times, but I didn't do it because obviously I wasn't running him at the time. So I'd probably just replace it with that. I'm not sure if it's worth running a level 9 Synchro to go into after that. But other than that, I think the extra deck that I have here is fantastic. Pretty much all of them came up at least once. Even the Link 2 here, which I think is surprisingly strong, especially for dealing with Floodgates or some other like troublesome cards that you might come across. So anyway, this was what I ended up climbing out of gold with. Feel free to put any comments you have below. But next up, I'll show you. I went ahead and like made some changes on how I'd probably run the deck going forward. So let's go ahead and pull that up now. Here's ultimately, and this is without any testing, I think I would change the deck up. I think this looks much better. You know, like I dropped the Tunifuls down to 1, just as 1 more possible normal summon. I upped the Snowpios to 3. I did keep Zep at 2. Maybe I'll end up putting Zep to 3 at some point. We'll just see how this goes for a little bit. I also found room for 2 Imperms, which I think will definitely help the deck out a lot. Either going first or second, just nice interruption, or sometimes the occasional light board breaking. And for the extra deck, I took out the crappy Ghoti Synchro, and I threw in the level 7 White Oro Monoceros, just as someone that a Bishark could Synchro into with one of the level 2 tuners, in case it comes up, and especially summon something from the grave, and he has like a revive effect and banishes. Just an all-around decent card, and it will probably come up occasionally in some duels, so I think it's worth running. I decided to keep evenly matched for now. I'll keep testing it out. If it's just never ever coming up, I'll replace it for something else. We'll just see how it does. If I took this deck back to ladder, this is probably what I'd roll with, and for the reasons I outlined before. But that basically covers just like my brief thoughts on the deck I ran with and the changes I'd make. After this, I'll go ahead and showcase the duels where I was started somewhere in Gold 3 and then got to Plat 5. I'm pretty sure all the duels are in order, and I know it's not the craziest climb, but enjoy the duels and enjoy seeing the deck in action. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know and post them below. But with that, let's see what the deck can do. Alright, first duel up, and we have lost the coin flip. Let's see how we can do. Our hand does look pretty good if we're actually able to play, so let's see what I can put up. And it looks like he's on hero. I've got no interruption, other than looks like we have Snowpios in my hand. And this was the duel where I realized, well, like, he actually can be some decent interruption, which you'll see here in a second. So he's just going to do normal shenanigans. You know, he's going to go Stratos. He's going to go into Malicious. He's going to Poly. And here comes Sunrise. Get that Miracle Fusion, add Liquid, link these 2 off for Cross Crusader. At this point I activate Snowpios, and I'm going to target that Malicious. That Malicious gets banished, so he's not able to like put it back with a Denier to get more extenders off that. And I did notice he did add Honest Neos there, so I need to be wary of that. And I'm not sure if I like messed up his play or he just isn't 100% familiar with the deck. I'm sure Scudiari or whatever, the Dark Fusion is not the correct one to go into. I probably should have gone in for the whale here just to clear his board, but I really wanted to get Ass Cannon into rotation here. He's really strong, especially with Snopios, in order to like keep banishing and keep recycling. So I'm not able to clear his board here, especially with that Anos Neos in hand, but I am able to set up a pretty formidable amount of interruption to deal with whatever he's going to go into. So we got the Kragan, we've got Ass Cannon who's already used his effects, we've already popped 2 monsters. And then we have a tuner coming back on the board for our turn. So let's see how that's going to work out. And here comes Paces. He's back. He's going to go Liquid, bring back that Stratos. And I'm not sure if he misclicked there. He's going to pop his Spell Trap. And then he's going to activate his Search to get his Dark Fusion. And he's going to go to Verte. We'll go ahead and Kragan that. And you can't see it in the video here, but he did threaten the battle phase, so I did have to go into Deep Beyond there. And it is going to allow him to go into Malicious Bane, unfortunately, but I couldn't let him clear my tuner there. So that is one decent way to play around the deck, is you need to attempt to force phases and try to force me to activate my effects, because the synchros can only happen during the main phase. But I am going to get Deep Beyond back, and we do have Snopios. We're going to bring back Ascan, and then we have another level 2 tuner. We're going to go out to our second Ascan. We'll banish his Malicious Bane. Unfortunately doesn't have protection against that, and I told him to get the lifetime mission for swinging for 1,000 because my opponent scooped. Good game. Next duel, I did win the coin flip here, and we've got the field spell and 2 Tunifuls in our hand, but luckily we can just banish those, activate the effect. We'll go ahead and get Paces here. We'll summon Paces, win Max C here. We don't really worry too much about Max C. We'll go ahead and give him 1 draw. We'll go Snopios, and we'll activate his effect, target himself. We got Paces coming back on the board. And we do have that shifter that we can throw out at some point. I probably threw the shifter too early here, but I don't think it ends up mattering. The reason I threw it too early, I could have recovered my Ascan here, so Ascan's going to banish, but I don't have anyone to bring him back. But under the shifter, he's basically done. And I've got a starter in hand too, so there's not really going to be much you can do, especially with Pacey still coming back. So I activate the field spell, he scoops it up there. Good game. Alright, next duel, and this one is a quick one. He starts off with the small world, and he's going to reveal the Kaiju. I'm not sure if he just didn't have a bridge or he screwed up the bridge, but for whatever reason he adds Max C, so at the end phase, I don't want to get Max C on my turn, so I'll go ahead and throw Shifter here. He gets confused, he Max C's now, and then when it gets my turn, he realizes what happens, and here comes the Shame Concede. We've all been there, we've all misapplied effects, so good game. Alright, can't seem to win a coin flip for the life of me on these first few duels, and it looks like it's set 3 pass. Looks like we're in for a good one. Let's see what we can do with this hand. And this deck does have a little bit of trouble with back row if you aren't the one that wins the coin flip. We're going to go ahead and activate Supe. He has a Max E. We do have the call by for that. Lucky us. And we will synchro off for Ronpus, and that's going to get a Solemn Strike response. Too bad for us. And then he's going to activate Soul Drain. Oh boy, I love Floodgates. Love them. And I did check afterwards, that Soul Drain is a 1-up, so you can tell we're in for a very fun duel. And I'll just let you stew for a minute. I'll tell you at the end what the deck is. Let's see if the you dear viewer can try to guess in the meantime. We'll go into Abyss Keeper here to try to clear his back row. We would have special summoned Leaffish, and then Leaffish would have sent one of the tuners to the grave, which we could have banished, and then we could have banished Leaffish in order to banish his Floodgate. We weren't unfortunately able to do that, but it does look like he is just drawing nothing here. So we'll normal summon this Leaffish, he'll get the Imperm. We'll go ahead and swing for battle phase. Unfortunately, we couldn't swing in for lethal. Supe does have to special summon in defense. I thought I had lethal there, but I did read its effect before I went for it. But we do at least get to clear his Floodgate. And he draws nothing, he's on 1,000 life once he scoops it up. And the deck was, yes, you guessed it, Dark Magician, cool deck. Won the coin flip. Let's see what we can do. We've got the field spell, we've got some tuners, and we've got an Evelyn that's probably not going to do us much good, but we can at least banish that to trigger that. We'll go Paces. Paces, we'll special summon Eonok, bring back one of those level 2 tuners, and then we'll go out Silent Angler, so we have someone to synchro for 6 with on our turn, and then we'll go into Stardust Assault, which will allow us to go Barone on our turn. So pretty crazy board that we put up with Ghoti. Usually we don't get to put up this many interruptions, but let's see how we can do against our opponent. Paces comes back, Shift comes back, and the Pot of Extravagance. I really didn't want him to draw. I really wanted to like try to beat him one card, go 1 for 1, and then really beat him on the crackback. So I went ahead and negated the draw there, and then it looks like it was Floo, and he drew the win. So this is looking a little rough for us. He does have the Eagle and he does have Rabina. He opened kind of crazy. I tried to go for a level 8 Synchro here for the White Aura Whale. Unfortunately, the way this chain resolves, I wasn't quite sure how it resolves. So we got to tribute it there, and White Aura Whale does not trigger, unfortunately. So Zep gets summoned, but we don't have anyone to synchro him with. Baron's already used the negate. That evenly's not going to do much. He's going to go Street, and then he's going to add another MPEM, and then he's going to tribute my back row, go for another MPEM. I've got like just a Bishark in hand. He opened kind of crazy, but he did play it very, very well. So I go ahead and scoop it up there. So very well played, friend. Good game. All right, let's see if we can make it happen on this one instead. We've got plenty of starters in hand, which, like I said before in the describing the deck, was kind of a problem. We've got Leaf Fish. We're going to dump one. We'll also go Supe. We'll go into our own post. Banish Paces. We'll activate the field spell. Sure, why not? Banish this. We'll add Snowpio. So we got pretty much everything we want other than like a hand trap. But we've got a decent amount of interruption. We've got tuners coming back. Here comes Paces. Here comes Shift. We've got a level 4 to synchro with. We've got a level 6 to synchro on the board. He threatens going to end phase. So we'll just go and try to ass can his back row. See what we hit. And it looked like it was a super poly, so that's not bad. We'll go ahead and banish this tuner so it comes back on our turn, and it gets passed back to us. Let's see what that one set card is. Skill Drains. Cool Floodgates. Another cool deck, but luckily we have just some gigantic monsters we can go into, especially if he's just going to leave his board wide open, so let's just go ahead and do that. Bring back Ascan, and we've got Beyond Lethal on board. We'll go and swing in with Leaf Fish, we'll go and swing with Ascan, and we'll give Chungus the lethal. Well played. Alright, we got plenty of starters in hand. Let's see what we can do. Paces, banish him, so we can special summon Leaf Fish. He throws up the Max C. We'll give him one draw. We could go like Silent Angler here to set up like even just like a slightly better board. But I figured this is good enough. We don't want to give him another draw. So we'll just go Lifeless Leaf Fish, and we've got 2 tuners coming back, which is good enough for me. And this is probably Exhibit A of why you should save Max C for your turn against Ghoti. He activates his field spell. He added that spell card, which he definitely should have activated now, because now I wouldn't have been able to banish his field spell, but instead he activated the field spell first. I mean, I would have banished the other spell instead, but we could just go ahead and Ascan, banish his field spell, because otherwise it's going to negate the activated effects of all my monsters on the board. We'll go Ascan, we'll banish our tuner. He'll activate that spell now. He'll dump a monster. He threatens to go to end phase. We'll just go ahead and go to the Deep Beyond here, clear his board. He does have a follow-up play. As a Therion, he's going to summon them both, but doesn't look like he has anything after that. Just scoops it up. Good game. Alright, on the play this time. Let's see what my opponent's doing. And it looks like Diva. And he banished one of my tuners, which is great for us. We'll just go and throw Shifter out now in case he synchros off. They can just go banish instead. And he's on Prima Donna, so that's added to our hand instead of special summon, which is like, you know, that's fine for us. And it looks like I found the 2 Icejade players on ladder. I guess that's fine. That synchro is pretty strong in the 1 set back row with the field spell. This is going to be a little difficult to clear. Max C, 6th Thrall, classic. But I guess that's fine. We'll go ahead and do Supe. We'll special summon this level 4 here. We'll go Roan Post. He's going to go ahead and activate this effect. I figured that was coming. But we still get to banish that Paces. And we'll go Abyss Shark. And at this point, we'll go into Chungus, because that'll be able to just beat over his monster. But he does have the Imperm, which is going to mean the 2 crash. We've got Abyss Shark. We've got some tuners coming back, but unfortunately, I can't synchro with Abyss Shark because we're not running that synchro this time. At the draw phase, I'll just go ahead and throw Max C here. If any play he wants to do, I'll at least get drawing some cards. He's going to grab that Curse, and Curse is basically going to shut me down for the rest of the duel, unfortunately. But let's see if there's anything. I got 2 tuners on board. I got a Abyss Shark. Leaf Fish off the top is not bad. I probably screwed up here, is where I didn't read where he could have protected his monster from battle. I wanted to try to activate my effects afterwards by clearing his monster. So after this is the follow-up. We'll just go clear him in Synchro just as some negate. But I know he's got the Abyss Shark, so he's probably going to Kragan on my turn. So I know I need to stop the Kragan. But he's got the Diva. Diva's unfortunate. Let's see what he goes into first before I go ahead and fire. I Synchro's effect to negate. He's going to Synchro for Excel. I can't let that resolve. I can't let him get a little 10 Synchro on board, so we'll negate that. And unfortunately, he is able to go to Crystal Shark and Abyss Shark, overlay them for Kragan, activate Kragan, pop my Synchro Dragon, get him for some fat burn damage. Beat over my Abyss Shark. Probably not much I can do here, especially when I can't be activating any monsters back on my turn. We're going to activate Snowpios to get a monster on board. And pass it back to me. Down to 1850 life too, it's looking a little rough. Just couldn't seem to ever really crack this Floodgate. We'll go Ascan, not like I could do anything with it. He goes and throws out Kragan. We wanted to try to go into a Kragan of our own. Go battle phase, beat over his, and he is on the spawn, so he has the spawn. Go main phase 2, he activates spawn, targets Kragan, we'll get our own spawn. And at this point, I try to think if there's anything I could do. Timer gets me, but well played from my opponent. Good game. Our next one's up. We win the coin flip. We've got a couple starters in hand, so we'll activate the field spell first to try to ban out an Ash. Go ahead and banish Tuneful. We'll get the tuner Paces, and then we'll go ahead and go to Supe. We'll go into a Roan Post, and at this point, that's going to eat an Imperm. That's fine. We still have plays to do from there. We'll go and summon Paces special. Get out Eonock. Bring back that Paces. Banish it to grab the trap card, and this is a decent amount of interruption, but it is basically every card I have, so hopefully that's enough. Unfortunately, it's not. Paces comes back. Opponent activates Terraforming. Looks like he's on Numeron. We should be able to deal with that, but then he threatens Battle Phase. I definitely should have gone Ascan just to trigger a Roan Post's Banish effect. It probably wouldn't have mattered at all. In main phase 2, he's going to activate the field spell. He's going to link all 4 off for Sarah Yugioh. He's going to get a bunch of draws. We were going to be on 1 card. Scoop it up there. Good game. Alright, won the coin flip again. We've got Leaffish and Supe. We'll go ahead and start out Paces, special summon that Leaffish, and then we'll go ahead and banish our tuner. Really no reason to Supe, we can just do that on the follow-up. We've got 2 tuners coming back, very nice. And we have the Max C as well, along with the Dimensional Shifter. Let's bring back our 2 tuners. He's going to summon Moye. He's going to reveal his Tenyi. At this point, we'll activate Shifter. We'll chain Max C, so Max C, we can still resolve it. And then we'll also chain Roan Post here, so these tuners go to the grave, which is where we want them. And then we'll also send Zep via Roan Post's effect. We'll Synchro off for Ace for Ascan. We want to banish that Moye because he's going to be locked into Synchro-only monsters. Ascan, we'll go ahead and banish one of the tuners we sent back to the grave. And at this point, he's going to Longwan. And with this, we'll go ahead and go into Deep Beyond. Banish his board, say bye-bye. And he passes back to up. I love the way that Shifter chain resolved. It was just so good. Put the correct things in the grave that I wanted and had the Max C resolved. So we're up a bunch of cards. And we've got Deep Beyond coming back. We got our 2 tuners back. At this point, we can go ahead and Supe. Go a Roan Post. We want to make sure we play around like a Nibiru, I guess. We just want to get lethal damage on board. He scoops it up there. Good game. Looks like we had everything. Alright, another coin flip 1. We've got some starters. And so we'll go ahead and activate Terraform, try to bait out an Ash, nothing. We'll activate we'll normal summon Leaffish, activate its effect, it's going to be an Imperm, and unfortunately we don't have really any follow-up after that. We'll go ahead and activate this field spell. We should banish this to get Paces. We probably should have done that first, normal summon Paces, but Paces probably also would have eaten the Imperm, so I'm not sure how much it would have mattered. We did happen to sack into the trap card, so we'll set that, see if there's anything we can do with it. But he's got Beaver and Carrot in his opener. That's kind of nutty, and then he's got Jet 2, he's going to go Gigantic, we'll try to activate the trap here, he just carrots, there's nothing we can do. I mean, we've got like Paces, Supe, Garnet in hand, yeah, we'll just scoop it up there, no chance beating Spright. Alright, finding Spright and gold's a little unfortunate. Let's see what my opponent's on for this one. We were able to set up a pretty decent board here. We'll go Leaffish, send our tuner, we got Paces banished on the field, so we'll go banish this. Just search out Snowpios as well, maybe we can do some of that. Set the called by, pass, and then opponent on 6 cards, a little scary, but we do have 2 tuners coming back, which is nice. Main phase 1, and it is Tears. We go from Spright to Tear. A little unfortunate, he finds his 1-up King of Swamp, searches out his Poly. He's going to go Sheeran, he's going to dump Medora, activates these 3 here. Go ahead and called by this. You can't Medora me because that's only got, he doesn't have monsters in the grave. Good for us, but he's still able to pop off here pretty well. He's gonna go Rhino Heart, dump here. Unfortunately, much we can do here. I do want to start getting my effects rolling, so we'll go ahead and run this here. I probably did this too late. I probably should have been more greedy and try to go for a Deep Beyond probably as quick as possible. So we'll go Zep here. He's going to negate that Zep before I go into Ascan. At this point, he's going to Poly. He's going to go to Guardian Chimera. I didn't even know they ran Guardian Chimera. Mr. 4% over here. And unfortunately, Ascan's not going to get to resolve because he's just going to get popped by the Guardian Chimera. And my opponent's got lethal damage on board. I think I've seen enough here. Good game. Spright into tier, a little unfortunate. We'll just got to take those on the chin. We'll keep it going. We'll keep it rolling. See what we can make happen, especially when we're winning coin flips. We'll go into Tuneful. That is going to eat an Ash, but that was just bait on the ass because we have the Supe follow-up. It is going to use up most cards in our hand, but we do have Bishark follow-up. My opponent's down a card, and we've got Tuners coming back, so I'm not too worried. Pacey's coming back. Shift coming back. And we're not looking too bad. And it looks like he's on Traptrix. He's going to go into Sarah. We, of course, are going to do the fastest as can of my life here. We want to get rid of that Sarah before he can activate a trap, before he starts plussing like a madman. He is going to call by our own post. A little unfortunate for us. But Ascan's going to trigger, banish Sarah. We'll banish this tuner to come back next turn. And he's going to set 4 and pass. This is where you really need to, like, bait out zone or phase changes. If you would have, like, set 2, then phase change threatened me, I would have chained there, and then he will at least get into set 2, but instead I got the fattest Deep Beyond of my life, banished his entire back row, and unfortunately I'm not able to find lethal here. I really did try. I didn't go into Rome Post here because he's still negated by the called by, so we just went into the Dolphin there, and like I said, I'm not able to find lethal here. And then you don't see it in the replay, but this very cool man here, he decided to timer stall me. So luckily for you guys, you don't have to witness it, but I did have to sit here for the full 5 minutes while this guy just sat there with 1 card in his hand. I probably should have gone to Kragan, but I thought I might need like the level 4 on board to synchro for level 6. I ended up obviously not mattering, it was just 1 card because just ass-canned it. But we'll just go into battle phase, we'll give the glory to Deep Beyond. I guess I'm not going to give this guy a good game, but you know, there it is. Alright, just 2 wins off Plat 5. Let's see what happens here. Start with Leafish. That's getting an Imperm. Do have some follow-up with a Bishark. Bishark, grab another Leafish for next turn, and we'll just go Kragan, and we'll go Kragan Pass. And we'll fire Maxi in the draw phase. You know, why not? We've got plays in hand. Might as well just fire it there. And it looks like he is on Blue Eyes. He's going to get that alternative. And the Jet Dragon is going to reveal a normal Blue Eyes in hand, some alternative, before he can trigger that, hit the effect on that. We'll go ahead and fire Kragan, get him for 1500. Not too bad. That will allow him to go into Jet Dragon. He will clear my Kragan, and then we'll go ahead and get the spawn on the board. Passes it back to me after getting the Abyss Dragon on board. He's going to search out the Chaos Form, and he's also going to search out the Chaos Max. Stop saying Chaos Max, he's not running it, but let's see what we can do from this point. Leafish, I can't really get a synchro in rotation. I drew a bunch of like just normal summons off my Max C's. There's really not much I can do. I can't clear my board to like get it good evenly. He's just going to spin the spawn back, but I do at least have this tuner coming back. So let's see what we can do from here. He's going to go Chaos Form. He's going to go Chaos Max. He's got a lot of damage on board. He's going to activate the Bing Machine, and then, of course, classic gold move. He sets a card in main phase 1, and then we will synchro for 10 with these 3 monsters, and we will go Deep Beyond. He'll try to Dragon's Mirror me, but we will get another huge Deep Beyond, like a +5 there, which is, you know, not too bad. Now I'm like 6 cards to my opponent's 1, and Deep Beyond's coming back. Go ahead and normal summon him. We're actually going to activate Leafish's effect, see if I can actually find something that's like not just like a normal summonable monster, because it looks like I might not be able to find lethal here again, unfortunate. But we can at least set up a tuner for my opponent's turn, I guess. Activate that. He's going to set 1 card, try to go to end phase. At this point, we're going to banish that, so we're going to run post. Banish Zep, bring back Zep, go into Ascan. Activate Ascan. Banish that back row, activate a Roam Post, get that Abyss Shark, banish the back row, bring back Ascan, and that is, you know, 5 summons. Here's Nibiru. Okay, yeah, last card Nibiru, why not? It's okay, should be a pretty easy cleanup for us. Shift comes back, activate the field spell, banish Ascan, Ascan comes back, synchro for 10, go Barone, pop the Nibiru, and sure, we'll give lethal to the token, why not? Good game. This is the final boss for Plat 5. We win the coin flip, which is always nice. We got the Leaf Fish. He's going to max C. We obviously could have called by that there, but it definitely, I felt like it wasn't worth it. We don't really need to extend from here. We'll just set that call by, save it for later, and Shift's coming back on our turn. Good main phase 1. He activates that Imperm. Probably should have been toggled on to try to Imperm Shift during the standby phase, but we'll be able to go into a run post, activate a run post, banish Paces. We didn't do Zep there because we have Zep in hand, which we can trigger with Snowpios, which is when I realized like how great Snowpios and Zep can be together. So we'll just hold that in hand for as long as I can. He tries to activate his Swordsoul monster's effect. Looks like he didn't open the greatest Swordsoul hand. We'll just banish that monster so he's not able to get a token. And then as he sets 2 in the back row, we'll go White Aura Whale in order to clear up his board. And trigger a run post again to Bishark. And he's just going to go to the end phase. His 2 set cards, one of them's probably Blackout, not sure what the other one is, but Paces is coming back. And so is Shift. Synchro for 10, just go into Barone just for an easy cleanup, pop one of them, and Mirror Force and Swordsoul, only in Gold League. Go Ascan for that other one, and it was indeed Blackout. Activate Ascan, bring back Ascan. Snowpios gets banished, activate his effect to bring him back. Would have pretty easily flip from there. Good game. Welcome to Plat. Yay, we did it! Look how happy Toad is. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like this sort of low-key dual replay video, let me know. I can try and get some more out like it. Maybe not this long. I'll try to actually cut it down. Leave something on the editing floor. I know my videos are usually more informative, and people usually come for the combos, but I just want to get a video out in the meantime while I'm working on my next deck profile and combo guide. So I hope this was something you at least got something out of. I will be taking my next deck to the World Champion Qualifier event, so look forward to that. But in the meantime, I appreciate any likes and feedback. If you want to see more of my content, be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe to the channel. But I'll see you next time, friends.